All right, good morning, everyone. Apologize for the slight delay. We're going to start now with the orientation session, which we have slated for today. I think everyone should be able to see my screen as well as be able to hear me on their laptops. Make sure you put me on mute till you really have a question, which you need to ask while you're on the phone. In addition, you can use live meeting Q&A area, to ask questions as well, right? And that will be visible to everyone. That's what I'm showing right now. As we do for all the classes, this class is being recorded, and you will have access to the recordings, which would include any questions you ask, either verbally or via the Q&A area, right? And any answers I give, either verbally or through the Q&A area, right? So they're all going to be captured. Okay, so this is the SAP NetWeaver Systems Administration, also known as the BASIS Training. This is the orientation and the introduction session. We do see that there are approximately there's some duplicates here, but approximately 15 individuals who are in the class. Two of them, Ayaz and N. Kumar, seem to not have the audio. So Amol, can you look into that? I'm not sure if they are in our office in India or if they're using the phone to get the audio, right? So if you could just look at those two individuals, would appreciate. Also, we have the benefit of having with us Shrikant Miriala, right? He is from our offshore solution center in Gurgaon, and he is going to be the lab assistant. Any questions we have as the course progresses, any exercises we get stuck with, he would be helping out. Also, we have on here Raj Ramakrishnan. He's a colleague of mine and would be helping with the instructions as the course progresses. I will let Raj introduce himself once we get to my introduction. Okay. All right. So moving on. We're going to spend some time on the background of Khoj, on my background, what is SAP. Obviously, that's what brings you all to this course. The course content and the syllabus itself, the training material which we are going to be using, some insight into the unique training approach and methodology which we use to deliver this. Why of all the things in SAP Basis? Some of you might already know the answer because you're here. Others might want to get it reaffirmed, and we will talk about it. We're going to spend some time on the SAP GUI installation and connectivity. A lot of you might have received details already from Amol. If not, as soon as you finish your registration, you would receive that. So we'll just kind of walk you through that process. We'll spend some time on SAP technical architecture, some SAP transactions. This is again to kind of get our hands dirty, right? To whet your appetite a bit. Frequently asked questions, and then a Q&A session, open for all. This is, most of this content, give or take, is going to take us close to 2.5 to 3 hours. So we plan to finish around 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Okay. So Khoj is an SAP consulting provider and an SAP services partner as part of the Partner Edge program as well. Providing SAP technical consulting services is our core competency. Established in 1998, and we have got close to 90 plus consulting and staff resources. We have got 20 plus key clients where bulk of our work gets done, and they're all Fortune 500 companies. We are a partner with SAP. We are a partner with Amazon Web Services, a systems integration partner with IBM, with HP, affiliated as a minority business enterprise in the state of New Jersey, as well as a small business enterprise in the state of New Jersey. Headquartered in Ramsey, New Jersey, in Bergen County. Have a solution delivery center in Gurgaon, India. That's where Amol sits, and that's where Shrikant sits as well. And then we have a regional headquarter in New Delhi, India as well. I've just given a sense of some of our partial client listing. This is there to just give you a sense that SAP is prevalent in a lot of different industries, a lot of different verticals. It's not only manufacturing sector, it's not only services sector, pharmaceutical, media and entertainment, healthcare, manufacturing, information technology, high tech, financials, you name it, and you will find SAP there, and hence also us having few clients in that space. A more comprehensive list is available on our website as well, by industry vertical. Our business model, in a lot of sense, is very similar to how other consulting companies operate, but there are certain new aspects to it, where we differentiate ourselves from others. First and foremost, our vision is very plain and simple, right? Providing SAP technology and software quality assurance consulting and training services. So very well defined, very focused vision statement. Strategy is to provide SAP technology solution offerings in a vertically integrated fashion, i.e. hire resources, not just experience, but even people who come from good education background, train them, deploy them on various client assignments, either offshore or on-site, develop them and retain them, right? A lot of our consulting population has followed that process. And this training course happens to be one of the avenues or one of the facilitators for that. Partnerships we talked about, right? So we rely very heavily on these partnerships, right? From a vendor standpoint, we over the years have built a very extensive database called CBIZ. We use a software product called CBIZ, in which each and every vendor as well as independent consultant we have ever talked to, we have details around, right? And that's what we leverage to meet our client requirements and to have a better sense of individuals with this expertise out in the market. But that's not the only source of our consulting population. The big chunk of it, are people whom we work with directly, either on W-2 or a subcontracting basis, right? And then our customer population is both large-scale businesses and medium-scale businesses. As you must have already seen, large-scale businesses is where SAP has always been. That's been their forte. That's how they started. However, now currently over the last 5 to 7 years, there has been a focus to move to medium businesses and small businesses using cloud as a delivery mechanism. We have a number of solution offerings which we pride ourselves on, and much of the consulting services we provide to our client base is one or more of these solution offerings. Architect SAP is where we started with, and that's what my background is. Also happens to be the background of Raj, who's on the call as well, is providing SAP technical architecture, strategy, and design kind of skill set to our clients. Doing so the right way as new SAP initiatives start, projects start, this pays out in spades over the years because you have a very firm strategy in place in most of the areas, and you're relying on that strategy to take you through bulk of the deployment cycle and the implementation cycle. Remote SAP is the best sure SAP NetWeaver Systems Administration. So this is providing core SAP system administration services, but providing them from a best sure model. That means it's not all offshore, it's not all onshore. You look at that specific need and what is the right combination of onshore and offshore which will give you the biggest bang for the buck. And that's what we do very effectively. Manage SAP is our SAP Solution Manager implementation and consulting service. SAP Solution Manager is an ERP system for basis or systems administration per se, right? It gives us enterprise-wide capabilities and resources to manage even the very complex SAP landscapes. Turbo SAP is SAP Performance Management Services. As you would have imagined, any enterprise scale SAP system, a system like SAP would require the ability to handle increasing workload, tens of thousands of users, and in a situation like this, performance becomes very critical for data-intensive applications, and invariably, big projects would require performance management services to ensure that the client population, the end users, are getting the type of SLAs or response times they are used to or expect. Assure SAP is SAP Automated Quality Assurance Testing Services using products from Hewlett-Packard, which include Quality Center, Quick Test Professional, Load Runner, and using these products with SAP to provide automated testing services. SAP Security Design and Administration is security, provisioning, security, design, authorization work, audit, license management, single sign-on, authentication, and other related services, strategy, design, implementation, and steady-state administration. All of those are done as part of the Secure SAP service offering. Train SAP service offering, you're seeing portions of it now, right? This is to provide SAP technical training, either in a public setting, similar to today, or in a private setting, which is at a client facility in a very specific customized fashion. Consult SAP is consulting services which fall outside of any of the previously listed service areas, which could be development in nature, functional in nature, or even technical in nature, either done as a project or as staff augmentation. So those are the solution offerings, which we currently pride ourselves in. From a background standpoint, most of you already know, I didn't start the discussion with that, but since Amol had already sent some of these details, my name is Ajay Dhingra, and I will be your instructor for the course. And alongside with me, Raj Ramakrishnan will also be providing some instruction services. And then from lab assistant standpoint and extended hour support, Shrikant Mariala would be helping us, from our offshore delivery center in Gurgaon. I've got 20 plus years of total IT experience, including 5 plus of those years, and that being the formative years in the big 5 consulting firms, in this case PricewaterhouseCoopers and Accenture. Of those 20 plus years, 16 plus years have been spent in the SAP space, doing basis systems administration related work, and at various levels, at project management level, team lead, administration itself, architecture, a whole slew of projects in terms of full lifecycle implementations. You have done close to 8 full lifecycle implementations, which are fairly difficult to do and or participate in, because a full lifecycle implementation itself would mean, at least in the SAP space, from inception till the initial go lives, could easily mean a 2.5 year project. So that's the reason you see only 8 of them listed. So if you have 16 to 20 years of experience, you could have only done so many, right? So one needs to appreciate that. But in terms of specific, more focused implementations, done a lot of ERP implementations, 12 plus, 5 in BW, 4 solution manager, couple of them in APO, supply chain area, enterprise portal, PI, business objects, BPC. And then very recently, and what's not stated here, in the HANA space as well. I am a certified SAP Basis Technical Consultant, certification from SAP AG, and obviously we expect that all of you would go through the same certification process as well. I have an MBA and MS from Tier 1 universities in the US. A lot of these details you can see in my LinkedIn profile. I have a master's, obviously in engineering from India, master's from Drexel University here in the US, and an MBA from Stern Business School, NYU. This course itself and the related quality assurance course with HP products I have been delivering over the last 15 years. So a lot of experience in being able to also impart good quality education, and for not just our own resources, people who just want to learn and do something different or venture on their own. In the quality assurance space itself, we have had more than 75 training batches, with 10 to 15 students per batch, right? So, 1,000 plus people have gone through that training program. And, this is the 47th batch for basis. And again, 15 to 20 resources per batch on an average. Right? So, number of resources in hundreds, who have been trained over the years. So now we're going to move into some of the basics. Again, for a lot of you, this might be a repeat. It might be known information. For others, it would be new, and hence we need to cover it. So what is SAP? Obviously, the acronym itself is German, but the literal translation in English is Systems, Applications, and Products in Data Processing. And it's the world's leading provider of enterprise application software. You know, has been in
has joined the conference.
Countries, and you know, close to 200,000 customers. So this customers does not mean individual users. These means companies who have bought SAP software. Founded in 1972 by 5 former IBM employees. Is used, and this is a key aspect, is used by 80+% of the Fortune 500 companies, right? So that's a critical mass which cannot be denied, and that will continue to make SAP increasingly popular. Very recently, for those who appreciate this kind of material, very recently, SAP's CEO, and this is for the very first time, SAP has a CEO who does not sit or does not work or is not from Germany, right? Who is leading the direction. His name is Bill McDermott, and Bill McDermott recently published a New York Times bestseller called Winner's Dream, A Journey from Corner Store to Corner Office. For those who like to read technical books or books about people who are successful in this area, should read it. I didn't read it, I listened to an audio version of this book, and it is narrated by Bill McDermott himself. Guys who are on the phone, please put me on mute. There's a lot of background noise. If you have a question, then you can unmute and ask. So I was very impressed by his book. It's narrated by him, the audio version, with the enthusiasm and the passion with which he talks, and the way he is building, you know, I would say SAP 2.0 essentially, right, is amazing. Also, you know, a lot of it is leveraged from the work Hasso Plattner and Vishal Sikka did, which paved the way for HANA itself. You would see the recent acquisitions which SAP has made have paved the way for their significant presence in the cloud environment, as well as enhancing HANA into cloud. So business objects, we all well know that acquisition happened in 2007, but since then a number of other acquisitions have paved the way. One of the very successful ones was SuccessFactors, which gave the very first thoroughbred cloud environment, you know, which SAP used. You know, then came in Sybase, which gave a lot of the capabilities which currently we see in HANA, and a lot of the mobility-oriented capabilities, which is, you know, now visible and used extensively in the SAP space. And then came the other two big ones. One is Hybris, which is the omni-channel commerce capability, and then came the Ariba, right, which again brings cloud environment, marketplaces, and commerce capabilities to the SAP space, right? And in between there have been other smaller acquisitions as well. So there is an acronym which emerges in today's technology landscape, which, as you start looking at how you are evolving your own career and what you're doing as you learn, the acronym is called, some of you might have already heard about it. It's called SMAC, and it's not a drug, it's an acronym, right? And even though Bill McDermott does not use this acronym, he uses the essence of the acronym in his penultimate and the last chapter of the book. So S stands for social, right? So those kind of capabilities need to be present in any software company or product which needs to be successful. M stands for mobile. Again, mobility needs to be at the cornerstone. Social and mobility kind of go together. And then the big one, which is around analytical, analysis, visualization, right, is key. And then the last one, C, is for the mechanism to deliver all of this, which is cloud-based, right? So these are becoming the cornerstone of the technology for the next decade. The SAP Business Suite, which is the flagship product, consists of 5 products, right? Since it's a suite, it is made up of 5 products. The most significant of which is ERP, also called ECC. ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. Then over the years, over the last 15 years, 4 additional products have surfaced around ERP, which invariably have been a play or enhancements to 1 or 2 modules which were there in ERP to begin with. So one is supply chain management, SCM. This is managing the supply chain. Again, it is an enhancement on core modules which were there in SAP to begin with, but now tons and tons of additional information has been added, or functionality has been added. The core modules would have been procurement and material management, right? Those are at the corner of supply chain management. CRM, this is customer relationship management. Again, sales and distribution capability and quote management existed in SAP Core as well, but with CRM it has gone to the next level, right, to provide a lot of additional capabilities. Then you have got supplier relationship management. Vendor management was always there in SAP. ECC has gone to the next level with supplier relationship management. And then product lifecycle management, PLM, right? Again, this is enhancements to production planning, material management, related areas, but enhanced further for the life cycle of the project, PLM, right? Obviously, you must have already understood that there are a lot of acronyms, a lot of TLAs, 3-letter acronyms, which you will get exposed to. All software products have it. That's how they make it difficult for the competition. Obviously, our goal here is to make it simple for you. So the business suite we talked about, and I'll narrate it a little bit further. There are 5 products: ERP, SCM, CRM, SRM, and PLM. ERP, the latest version out there is called ECC6 and has got different enhancement packs. Very recently, S4 HANA has been released, Simple Finance, which as time progresses is directed towards replacement for ECC6. How fast and how successfully SAP transitions to it has to be seen. Till then, it's ECC6, and ECC6 has as part of it what we have come to know over the years as various modules. FICO is for finance and controlling, SD for sales and distribution, MM for material management, PP for production planning, HR for human resource, PS for project systems, WM for warehouse management. This is a list, it's not an exhaustive list. Similarly for SCM, which was previously known as APO for Advanced Planning and Optimizer, but now is known by its more mainstream name, which is Supply Chain Management, has got modules in it as well as demand planning, supply network planning, supply network collaboration, transportation planning, vehicle scheduling. By the same token, you've got CRM, SRM, and PLM modules as well. CRM has got obviously entity management, opportunity management, a number of different modules in it to begin with, call center management as well. Now, those were only 5 of the products in the SAP Business Suite. However, there is NetWeaver, and NetWeaver is a framework, and in this framework there are a number of other products, namely Web Application Server, Business Intelligence, or also called BW, Business Warehouse in some cases. PI for Process Integration was earlier known as XI for Exchange Infrastructure, Enterprise Portal, Master Data Management, Manufacturing Integration and Intelligence, which form the basis of NetWeaver. In addition to NetWeaver, in addition to Business Suite, there are other products out there. Solman for Solution Manager, BPC for Business Planning and Consolidation, BO or BOBJ as it's called for Business Objects, GRC for Governance, Risk and Compliance. Right. And then I've put some other acronyms which are not products but are key, like the services-oriented architecture. And now obviously over the last couple of years there is significant presence of HANA and related products which have come in as a result of HANA. HANA obviously being the database engine and having Access, which is an extended services engine providing some web server capabilities and other capabilities to HANA. And then from a user interface standpoint, the next breed of user interfaces are going to be based on HTML5, and a variant of that from SAP perspective is SAP UI5, which forms the basis of Fiori as well as Lumira, which are the 2 front-running front-end technologies from SAP, Fiori being very, very comprehensive, and Lumira being focused on what's called visualization. Again, visualization is the A in SMAC, right? Analytical and analysis. And Fiori sits with M and with the C, right? A lot of presence on the cloud with Fiore because it's HTML5 and hence runs the same way whether you run it on a desktop, a mobile device, or a tablet, right? That's the key. That's key in HTML5. The course content and the syllabus. We are going to be focusing on 5 PDF files. 2 of them are in the SAP NetWeaver Application Server Implementation and Operations 1, which is TADM 10_1, 10_2. And then we have got SAP NetWeaver AS Implementation and Operations 2, which is TADM 12_1 and 12_2. And then we have got the Oracle Administration for SAP, which is TADM 51. And it is our goal, mine and Raj's, that we evolve this course to, over a period of time, replace the database component of it with HANA, right? Means which is currently focused on Oracle, paving the way for HANA, and hence making it more and more mainstream and current. Again, it might take us a couple of batches before we get to that. So that's and this is SAP's material in this space, but we cover a lot more material, and I'm going to spend some time on it, right? You all will receive a training DVD which looks something similar to this. Which looks something similar to this. It's got 14 folders. It's got a lot of knowledge base articles in it, right, and folders in it. So anything anybody asked me over the years for which I thought there was a better answer by sharing a document with them as opposed to just verbally answering, I put it here. A lot of this material gets dated, but time to time we continue to enhance it. Just case in point, somebody asked about ASAP methodology and the deliverables in it, so I kind of gave them those details. Somebody asked on system refresh and copy procedure documents, I kind of gave them details on it. Somebody might have asked client instance landscape, central user administration, right? So different aspects for which I could have shared a good document. And I think even somebody asked me, what did I use to prepare for my certification when I took it for the first time? I haven't shared that material, right? Again, I took it a long time ago, and since then I've only taken Delta certifications, right? But I at least shared it with them. So that's the knowledge base folder. A lot of books, a lot of ebooks. This in itself goes a long way. You've got the BW step-by-step guide. You've got the Oracle guide. You've got the NetWeaver Enterprise Services Oriented Architecture Guide, ABAP, Systems Administration Made Easy. And then you have what used to be the Bible, which is the SAP R3 Handbook, right, by Jose Hernandez. So that's there as well. SAP GUI, a lot of material on specifically on ECC, BW, APO, Portal, SEM. And then more importantly, SAP new material. This is These are the 5 PDFs we are going to focus on, right? SAP installation, when we do the SAP installation exercise, the master guide we use to do the installation, the media list, etc. is available here, and student material, right? We do the installation in a Linux environment, which is RHEL, so some documentation around it, what file systems we use. We have got a virtualized environment, so some details on the VMware configuration underlying it, how the base server was installed. Again, we try to put as much technology, as much latest content as possible. Again, it's not always possible, but to the extent possible in our material, to the extent that even our training systems run on the cloud, right? So it is the C in SMAC. We are running everything on Amazon Web Services. What you will see today and what you will eventually connect to is running on AWS, on Amazon Web Services. Live meeting recordings, these are the recordings you will have access to on a daily basis. So even if you miss a class, you will have access to it. This here in your DVDs is just recording from a previous basis batch, time when we used to cover BW as part of this course, and from a solution manager course as well, right? Again, the more current recordings from your current batch are going to be online on Live Meetings website, from where you're going to access it, including today's recording. So you see that it's going on for the last 42 odd minutes, right? And this is how they look like, right? This is very old recording at this point, batch 19. You will obviously be getting for your batch, right? This is just as an example. Okay. Okay. And then we have got, this is the NetViewer 7.31. This is what we're going to focus on, right? The 5 PDF files, right? Frequently asked questions, how to look at live meeting recordings, installation for SAP GUI, Microsoft Live Meeting. Some of these you have already seen, right? Just connecting for today's session. And the introduction material, right, which is what we are going through right now. And then we'll cover the other material as we go on. So this is what you're going to get in your DVD. Right, so explore the training DVD. All communication to you happens through a Yahoo group. All of you have already received the invites for the Yahoo group. That's how you ask a question. That's how we make announcements. The reason is that your colleagues benefit, and even if there is a specific question asked by a specific individual, you all benefit. We can share and collaborate more effectively. There are a lot of hands-on exercises which make up the course, and these are the exercises: day 2, day 3, 4, 5, 2 for day 3, 2 for day 5, day 6, day 8. There is none for day 1, and again, today is not day 1, today is day 0. And there is none for day 7, right? Because that's the installation, those are the installation days. And again, if we bring up any one of these exercises, they are very well laid down, but they continue to evolve, right? So if I bring one of them up, right? So it will, so this one here is around client operations and procedures. So you'll see screenshots specific exercise to do, how to delete a client, right, with screenshots with enough detail, right, so that not only can you do it, if you get stuck, you can look at the screenshots and benefit from it. Okay, so just to kind of give you an example of that. That's what is meant by hands-on exercises. And then the installation one, right, that's a key exercise we have where each one of you would do an installation of a solution manager system, including the database installation, right? So this is the custom installation guide, which you will all receive, right, on how to install Solution Manager on a Red Hat machine, right? So very well written. Proper index, table of contents, some background information. It talks about the architecture on which you're installing, right? So everything is running on a PowerEdge server. 2 CPUs, dual core, right? 8 gigabytes of RAM. Rated disk set. 4 partitions, capable of running 4 partitions on top, right? KS4 stands for code server 4, virtual machine partition 1. We nowadays only use 2 of them. I think it is 2 and 3 if I'm not mistaken, to just give more processing power. So 2 students do it at a time, and obviously I first do it in the class so that you guys can look at it, right? So because providing infrastructure to do these kind of exercises is part of the challenge, right? To build them so that you can look at it, right? So the file systems we use, and then each and every step, including screenshot, right? So this is the very first screenshot of running SAP Inst, right? And then all the screenshots. In the end, you will see the Oracle Universal Installer screenshots as well. Right, so this is OUI. Okay. Just giving a sense of that. You will do this installation using VNC Viewer, which is like a remote desktop capability in the Linux world, right? So this way, even if your network connection drops or anything, your virtual session would continue to run, and you can still continue after you reconnect. At the core of what we do, our goal is to prepare you for the SAP certification exam. In this case, the 731 certification. We obviously recommend taking the Oracle one, but you could take the SQL Server one as well. It has a DB component to it. A lot of what we teach you, prepare you for, focuses around the certification exam. The details of the certification exam are on the SAP's website. This is a hyperlink to that, so we can briefly bring it up. And you obviously get more details on SAP's website for this particular certification. I'm not going to spend more time on it, but you can see in which area, how many questions, or what percentage of questions are asked in which area, right? And we prepare you for that certification. You will see what I mean by that, right, in a little while. We have a unique training methodology. Number one, we invest on making sure that we have the right instructor. You know, that's why I've personally over the years spent a lot of time on this. And I've known now Raj for a number of years, right, and have known him from various client engagements, and hence I feel comfortable if portions of this, you know, is shared by him as well. So we focus a lot on the instructor and the instruction material, right, the DVD which you currently saw. Even what I'm talking from today, right, this is material which has been carefully crafted. And we are not just starting any day with any topic we feel like, right? There's a lot of thought behind it. A lot of the learning comes from some of our exercises, which are very carefully crafted. You know, I think the cornerstone of those various exercises is the individual installation, right? That each one of you would install an SAP full-blown system by yourself on your own server, right? So each student will be doing a Solman installation as part of the training program. You will have access to the server for 3 months after the training has been completed, right? Even all of our other training systems, right? So our goal is not to prevent you from learning. Our goal is to make sure that whatever it takes, you have it so that you can learn and add value to your career, as well as to the ecosystem of SAP consultants out there. We will provide you a training DVD which has all the training material. As soon as you register, you've seen portions of it. The training DVD has large quantity of materials which goes even beyond what is actually covered in the class in these 64 hours of training, right? 24/7 global access. You can access our servers anytime from anywhere in the world. And similarly, you can use Google Group to ask related questions anytime, anywhere in the world. At least we have 2 shifts in which we can answer. US shift, you know, where Raj and I would be here, and then Shrikant, who works, you know, from our office in India, right? That gives us the capability to answer, and then your colleagues can answer as well, depending upon the type of question you have, since you're posting it to the Yahoo group. And why we say global access? Because we run on Amazon Web Services. We run it on the cloud, which makes it easy for you to access our systems. What are other aspects which differentiate us and make us unique? Session recordings. We record every training session. Not only can the training session be attended in class, you could be here in our Ramsey office, remotely through live meeting. A lot of you are doing it through live meeting today. If you miss something, or if you miss a portion, or if you want to revise something, you will have the recording posted after each weekend. And you have access to these recordings for 1 year. And then we have the Khoj placement service offering. There is a typo here. So let me... Khoj placement service offering. So as we know that, you know, a lot of you, not all of you, but a lot of you have an intent to eventually break into the market, right? So this is a job placement program where we help you with things beyond the training, right? By giving you more experience with some in-house projects, some monitoring kind of initiatives, preparing some extensive exercises for the subsequent batch. In fact, what you just saw, which was the SAP installation guide, which we all use now to do the installation, custom installation as part of the training, was actually built by a fellow student, right? And we help with the resume, we help with preparing for the interview, preparing for the certification, and making sure that you can make a positive impact to your career. And we'll see more in terms of a case study in this space on how this works for you. For a lot of you who have taken similar kind of training, professional training in other institutions over the years would realize, or would have already realized, that if we are so anal about the orientation session, how anal would we be about the actual 64 hours of training? We are indeed. We almost want to look at it as a schooling approach. You will have weekly homeworks, weekly in-class quizzes, and I'm expecting that in addition to the 8 hours you spend on a week in class, you need to spend at least 20 hours. Your workload has to be close to 20 hours on a weekly basis outside of it, right? So only then would you see a change or a level of learning or quality of learning with which you can make a quantum jump in your career, right, of the kind you need. What is the other unique aspect, right? We actually provide you with mock certification exams so that you can learn effectively, you can gauge yourself where you stand. So if we look at the certification exam, and then I kind of showed it to you a little while ago, CTADM M51, that means the Oracle version, 731 is the SAP NetWeaver release. You get 80 questions, you get 3 hours, 180 minutes to answer them. The exams are conducted at the Pearson VUE authorized testing centers, and Khoj is one of them. So you can actually come to a Ramsey office itself to take it. But if you're anywhere else in the country, then obviously you take it there. Here is a screenshot of the software product we use, which is called QuizStar, to deliver this training, right? So you see SAP NetWeaver Technology Associate, the previous batch taking it, batch 45 taking it, 80 questions. You would come in, you would take the exam. This is how the exam is proceeding for them. We can look at the scores overall, right? This kind of gives me a sense of how I am doing, and you might have already gauged that I was not very happy when Amol shared this result with me. It reflects poorly on my ability. You know, I would like to see all of these histograms sitting, you know, a notch or two above where they are. But then again, we don't want to minimize these questions, right? They are difficult. This is the first time people take an exam of this nature. But we rather see this now than they actually taking the real exam and getting these kind of results, right? This is, again, screenshot of some of the questions. In this case, the question has been striken out or has been erased a little bit, but you know, as you look at it, you will realize that this is a question on SAP Backup and Recovery and SAP BR tools, right? And it's being asked that which of these is a valid product or not, right? So BR F rules is not one, the other three are, and hence, you know, this is what the student answered, this is what the correct answers is, right? And then there's a true and false question here. Both of them had 1 point each. This is from a This is from a student who did relatively good, got 56 right out of 80 questions, right? These are the points you get, right? And very briefly, this is the QuizStar software product, right? So I can go to Quiz Manager. I can see these quizzes out there, right? With different sets of questions. We randomize the questions, etc., right? Report Manager. Right, so this is the previous batch, one active report. This is what I was kind of showing you. This is the graph you were seeing. Right, so each and every, again I'm scrolling through this fast, but each and every student's details are visible, you know, how they performed, how they did, right? I can look at each test. This is a test, and this is what the screenshot you had seen. These are different questions they answered, right? Again, not spending too much time on it because I don't want to show this to you guys, right? These are the 80 questions he or she took, all right? So again, a lot of time and effort goes into this, right? You don't get it everywhere. We give it to you. Okay, why SAP Basis, right? Of all the things you can do in SAP, why SAP Basis? So systems administration in SAP is called Basis Administration. And there are only, and I think only one or two examples, and SAP is probably the poster child, where systems administration for an application product is called out, right? You don't see something similar in PeopleSoft. You don't see something similar, you know, for other kind of software products out there, right? Especially in today's world where DevOps, which is, you know, agile approach to building and deploying, you know, the concept of basis kind of disciplines is very rare to see. In SAP, it is very prevalent, and it is very, very critical because basis is NetWeaver Systems Administration, and it is the foundation for all SAP products, right? All SAP products run on that foundation, right? Only few outliers might be out there where SAP bought a product from another company like Business Objects, right? But still then it might not be NetWeaver, but it would be the basis admin doing Business Object System Administration as well. We'll spend some time, you know, talking about the definition of NetWeaver, and again, the reason we even go to the SAP Tech PDF Unit 1, page 16 is just to kind of get your appetite going, right? So that you start appreciating some of the technology we would be covering in this space, right? Okay. But before we continue with that, let's take a 5-minute break since, you know, we have been going for more than an hour, right, of recording itself. So let's take 5 minutes only, and then we'll reconvene so you guys can take a bio break. I can have a glass of water, and then we'll proceed. In the meantime, I'm going to pause. All right, I started the recording again. So SAP Tech Unit 1, page 16, right? So this is what's known as the refrigerator diagram. SAP has stopped, they used to use this diagram a lot, right? They've stopped recently, but I think still I believe it gives the best pictorial representation of the NetWeaver stack, right? That it has the application platform or the web application server, which forms the basis of it, right? In there, it has the DB and the OS abstraction layer. That means it can run on multiple database flavors, multiple operating system flavors. And we'll talk in more detail about what those databases and operating systems are as the course proceeds. And then it has a split personality where it can run both a Java stack and an ABAP stack concurrently or independently. Then comes what's sitting on top of it is process integration. And this is used for enterprise application integration, very similar to how MQ series is from IBM, or TIBCO is there from another, just another EAI player out there. It has an integration broker, it has services-oriented architecture, business process management capabilities. And then comes, master data management, MDM. This is for master data syndication, which is also part of the NetWeaver stack. And as it turns out that even business warehouse or BI is part of the NetWeaver stack, and these all products, MDM, BI, and portions of portal which are called knowledge management, all fall in the information integration shelf, right? The whole thing looks like a refrigerator, right? So application platform being the bottom shelf, then the process integration, then the information integration, and then last but not the last, the people integration, which is providing multi-channel access through various types of devices, including mobile devices. And behind the scenes, it's got the portal, the collaboration engine in portal, and the knowledge management engine in portal, right? So that's why learning the NetWeaver stack is so critical, because it has the underpinning and the foundation of a lot of the SAP products. Now, adding significantly to this, either at the bottom of this would be SAP's own database technology, in addition to what they always had, which was SAP DB, would be HANA, right? And then also standing on the side of it, HANA has a lot of this capabilities as well in either native HANA or HANA XS, right? So not only is HANA building another database which could be the foundation of NetWeaver, it's also building a lot of the capabilities which existed in NetWeaver, being developed from the scratch on HANA, right? And that's where SAP believes seriously that they will bring to the table significant performance improvement and a fundamental shift in technology. Right, so I wanted to focus on this just to kind of give you a sense of NetWeaver systems administration. Now we will take it to the next level to kind of appreciate another unit, which is the SAP Technical Architecture Unit, which gives us did I miss? Oh, I think that's where I've missed one topic here, right? Before we go to SAP Technical Architecture, because we will be needing this, right, is how to connect to our systems. A lot of you must have already received details on how to connect to our RP2 system on Amazon Web Services. Here's the IP address, the system number, the system ID, user ID of Shishya, and the password welcome. And I will give you a couple of minutes to go and connect to that. For people who have already received the access, for people who have not received, don't worry, right? You will get it once you finish your registration process. This is how your RP2, this is an IDES training ECC system. IDES stands for International Demo and Education Services. This is what SAP has built for training purposes. So it's got some pre-configuration in it. Change item, right? Same details. And then in parallel, I will, not here. I'll also show you on connecting to our Amazon Web Services console for training purposes. So this is EC2, Elastic Cloud version 2. And in there, in the running instances for the training purposes, is this IDES instance, right? This is the IP address. You must have seen this in the SAP GUI entry I just shared with you. Right? It's running on a medium server on the US East data center. Right? Right, it's got disks, the block devices allocated to it. Right, I can control it. I can do anything with it right here. Stop it, reboot it, terminate it. Right, create an image of it, etc. Associate an IP address with it. Right. So that's the one which is running. If I say OK, for people who have not noted it, can note it down. And then Shishya user ID welcome is the password to connect to it. Log on screen. This is an EHP7 ECC6 system. Shishya, welcome. Something wrong. I typed it incorrectly. Okay, so this is an IDES system. And I just wanted you guys to log in, right? So I'm expecting to see few people connected, but it turns out that a lot of you have not connected so far. So this is just Shrikant connected, and I connected, right? Khoj 0, this is from our office. Right? But others can connect, just, and we see somebody else come in from machine called PHAN. Okay. So it's on the cloud, so no restrictions from that perspective. You're coming, you know, and our internal systems here, which are in our server room, also can be connected the same way from the public internet. Okay. Somebody else also connected SKS, so that means it's working for you guys. And that was the intent of, you know, just having that slide in there. All right. So now, not only can I connect to this using SAP GUI, I can also connect to it at the back end using PuTTY, right? That means using a remote shell if it's a Unix machine, or using remote desktop if it is not one, right? So PuTTY is something, you know, which you guys would have to use as well, and this is my same server, right? Same IP address, right? 54.235, right? So I can open up a PuTTY session, and I have an authentication public key available to me. That's why it did not challenge me for a user ID password. I'll be sharing that with all of you as well. But it brought me in with a root-like capability, and I can switch user to SID-ADM, right? And you guys will know, you know, what the SID-ADM means, and you know what kind of capabilities it has. And the password for that will also be shared with you. It's Khoj 2008, just as an example for this case, right? So now, from at least a system which we'll be using for a lot of the training outside of what you install and a lot of other capabilities, you can connect to it on the public internet, on our cloud environment, both at the OS level, which is what this remote shell is, as well as at the SAP GUI level, correct? It's the same system. This was to kind of give you a sense of that. Now, if you recall, this was what we had missed, so I've shown it to you. After that, we come to the next slide, which is around SAP technical architecture, and maybe we'll spend, you know, another 15-20 minutes on this again to kind of get some of your appetite going on SAP technical architecture, and then, you know, we'll look at some key transaction codes in SAP, again only to whet your appetite, get your hands dirty, right? Of those, this one you have already seen because I just did SM04, which is this transaction. I can even show it here to you to see who all are connected, and that's what kind of told me that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people connected off the 21, right? Again, a lot of you are probably still downloading SAP GUI, etc., right? Which is okay. But then again, as I told you, I'm very anal, right? So if I know that this is the kind of stuff people would skip on, you would have already guessed that it would be the homework given to you, right? So in this case, it's just a SID name change here to RP2. Previously, our SID was called SD1. Right, so it'll be there in your homework, right? You cannot escape it. So back to TADM 10_1, Unit 3. Yes, if you have a higher version of SAP GUI, you can use it.
Has left the conference.
It's just that where you downloaded it from, we have not upgraded the version yet. So we'll go to TADM 10_1, Unit 3. There it is, Unit 3. Sorry for that, my PDF is just slow for some reason. Okay. So this unit starts with something very fundamental, which a lot of you already probably know, the client instance concept, the client server concept. Right, the hardware-oriented view, which we all know, client means a laptop, PC, etc. Server means a back-end hardware, right, which is being connected to. But that's the hardware-oriented view, right? And typically what you come across in industry is more the software-oriented view, which is any piece of software or a service which is requesting data is the client, which is serving data is the server, right? And you know how the world has progressed. You know, we started with the mainframe days, right, which pre-existed this. After that, we kind of came to a two-tiered architecture where we had got the presentation layer, right, and a back-end server, right? So this, for those, you know, a lot of you might not know of those days, right, but this was to a certain extent similar to mainframe, except in the mainframe the presentation layer was dumb, right? But then came, you know, software products like Power Builder, Gupta SQL Windows, you know, wherein, you know, you have the front end, you know, which is, you know, which has got good fancy user interface, and then you've got the back end, you know, application database server combined. Then we started the three-tiered, where we split the app server layer from the DB server layer, right? And then came the concept of the web era, right, where we had a browser, then we had the web server, then we had the application layer, and we had the DB server layer, right? 4-tiered architecture. Now guess what? What's happening? We are taking a full circle, right? If you look at all the apps on App Store or Google Play, so they're not running in a browser, right? So they're combining this layer together, right? So they're becoming almost like this, right? This presentation layer, right? An app has got the presentation logic. That's why it looks so snazzy, right? And it's in the back end talking to an application server, which might be talking to a DB server, right? So we kind of going back in time. And again, with the hardware becoming so powerful, for a lot of the smaller applications, you can run all of these together, right? Because at the end of the day, if you've got powerful hardware, right, you don't really need that segregation. You can run them together, right? And that's becoming very common. And in non-productive environments, people do that anyhow. The concept of instance, right? Very, very important. The concept of a system ID, the concept of an instance. So an instance is an administrative unit that combines SAP system components providing one or more services. So what's important is when you start an instance and when you stop an instance, right, it all comes up together, it all shuts down together. So what to start, what to shut down, what memory to allocate is all part of the instance, right? So a set of processes and a chunk of memory and few profiles make up an instance. An instance can run on one physical computer, but on that physical computer, multiple instances can run. And an SAP system can have multiple instances, right? So those three statements are very important, right? So one instance can only run on one physical machine or a virtual machine, but that machine can run multiple instances. Similarly, one system can have multiple instances in it. One SAP system can have multiple instances on it, right? So here is an example, right? This is, if you look at this, right? So number one, based on what I told you just now, how many tiers are here? Right? So you can respond back through the Q&A. How many tiers are there in terms of the tiered architecture in this diagram? Okay, so this is one answer. 3 tiers, right? So Sridhar is right. There are 3 tiers. There is the presentation layer, that tier. There's the application layer, the second tier, and the database, the third tier. And if we look at it, right, there are how many servers here, right? How many server machines are shown in this diagram? Right? How many server machines are shown in this diagram? Three tiers are there, but how many server machines are there? Either virtual or physical.
4, sir.
There are 4 of them, right? Computer A, B, C, and D. And computer A has got 2 instances running, computer B has got 1 instance running, and C has got 1 instance running. And even though it's not shown for computer D in this diagram, it also should have a database instance running, right? In addition to the database storage. Okay. So this is just SAP trying to kind of put, or this chapter is just evolving the concept, right? So in here, there is an SAP central instance, a central services instance, and 2 dialog instances, each one of them having an instance number running. And in this case, the diagram is showing an ABAP flavor of an SAP system. Right? So we have a central instance, central services instance, and 2 dialog instances. What these instances mean, we will cover shortly, right? An SAP instance has got multiple processes in it. And this diagram kind of shows what those processes are, right? So there is a message server which runs only on the central instance, which ensures that all the instances talk to each other, and hence, if you look at it, this message server is talking to the dispatcher work process of 4 different instances here. And then you have the gateway process, which lets an SAP instance talk to the world outside. Then there is an ICM, Internet Communication Manager, which accepts traffic coming from the web, through a web dispatcher or without a web dispatcher. And then that traffic could be bound to either the ABAP stack, then it will be sent to the ABAP dispatcher, or to the Java stack and will go to the Java dispatcher. And now this diagram does not show at this point the Java dispatcher, that's going to come later. It shows the ABAP dispatcher. So this dispatcher gets all the requests coming in, and then it looks at what kind of service are you requesting, and based on that it dispatches you to a work process of that kind. And if you want to do interactive workload, you will be dispatched to the dialog work process. If you want to update any database tables, you will be dispatched to the update work process. If you want to run non-interactive batch workload, you will go to the background work process. If you want to lock a table or an object, you will go to the NQ work process. If you want to print something, you'll go to the spool work process. So this diagram kind of lists out some of the work processes in SAP. And I just wanted to cover this couple of pages of theory and then map it to what you're going to see when we teach it, right? Learning theory is one thing, but when you actually see it in real life on a system, what is happening is something different, right? So if I were to put that in perspective and say, show me all the work processes on the instance in question. So this is our instance for the RP2 system, right? And it is called IDES2 RP2 underscore 10. This is one instance running. And this instance has got multiple dialog work processes, 1 update work process, 3 batch work processes, 1 spool, and 1 secondary update work process, right? So for a total of how many work processes? 16, 0 to 15, right? Well, if I want to see one of them from a back end, right? If I want to see this one, I can actually look at that. I can do PS minus EF, and I can grep for the process ID In this case, it is 29364. 29364. And here is my work process running in the background. Right? It's a disp plus work, dispatcher plus work process. That's the executable which is running. It's running for the RP2 system. It's running as part of the dwebmegs 10 instance. System number 10. This is just an acronym for dialog, update, enqueue, batch, message server, gateway, spool. As part of the RP2 system. And this is the profile it is using. So when I look at this, 29364 is the work process, and this is a certification question. They give you this screenshot and this screenshot and ask you what is the process ID of the dispatcher, right? And a lot of people will spend a lot of time on this and they don't see dispatcher here. And they have this screenshot of PS-EF, but they don't realize that the PPID, parent process ID, for this process ID tells the parent process which started this work process, in which, in an ABAP case, that happens to be the dispatcher. So this is the dispatcher's process ID, 29319. So if I grep this 29319, I see everything, right? You see this common all the way down, right? So the dispatcher started all of this, and it itself was started here by 29233. So what do you think 29233 is? (29233) is the SAP start service, right? So when SAP started, the dispatcher got started, and in this case, the graphic server also got started, right? IGS. So this kind of tells you how would you use the back-end tools to kind of comprehend the theory being taught to you. And when I go through the material, that's what I would do. I would focus on the pictorial pictures in the PDFs, explain the concept, then come and show it to you in the system. And then, as part of your quiz or as part of your exercises, you might get certain questions, which you need to answer, right? Which will kind of see if you understood the concept or not, right? Like it might just ask you, what is the process ID for the gateway work process, right? Right? You don't see the gateway here, right? You don't see the gateway here. So, but some of the material talks about it, right? So you have to find out how you would go and determine what is the process ID for the gateway work process, right? And then, when we talk about in the class, we'll talk about what are the various mechanisms to find that process ID, so on and so forth, right? So, again, this is day 0. My goal is not to teach you everything, but to make you aware of how it is going to be taught. Then we said that there are a few T codes, which one should be familiar with in the SAP world. we have looked at SM04 key code, SM51 we didn't look at, we looked at SM50, this is SM50, right, which is here as well, right? So we did this guy, we did this guy, right? We look at SM51. SM51 is the number of instances which make up the system, and in this case we already know that there is only one, right, which is dwebmax_10, right, which I'd shown you, and it is green, it is running active, right, and that is the central instance as well. From here, if I double click, I can go to the same SM50 screen, etc. Yes, so Amjad, Ibrahim, yes, they are configurable as part of the profiles to change work processes of any kind to any number. So, and Kumar, you don't need to start sharing, please just don't do anything to live meeting. Okay. The answer is yes. And the transaction to do that, it is ironic, you just asked. The transaction to do that actually is not in this list, but it is RZ10 and RZ11 are the two transactions which will let you configure those profile parameters to change things around. And since that question was being asked, we can quickly go to RZ11. And if I put something, right, and this again you guys would not remember this now, but see if you can get the hang of SAP's naming convention. So RDISP stands for dispatcher related parameters, WP for work process, NO for number, dia for dialog. Display it. The default for the kernel is 2. Standard profile would come with 2. Currently in your instance profile you have it set as 10, right? And the current parameter is also 10. So if I look at SM50, dialog should be going from 0 to 9, 0 to 9. So there are indeed 10 running, right? 10 configured to run. Only one is actively doing something. Others are waiting for something to be dispatched to them. Okay. All right. Similarly, SM37 is background jobs running in the system. So all the background jobs which ran today by any user of any type, let's say which got cancelled, that means it failed. I want to see. So there are 4 of them which failed, and these all happen to be related to DBA activities, right? Backups and archive logs, which was a known issue, and I expect that Shrikant has fixed it since then. DB13 is the transaction where one can go and look at if subsequent to that things have been running fine or not, right? So if we look at, no, so things are still failing. So this is what I've asked Shrikant to fix, right? So that we don't have issues in the system going forward. right? But this is a classic way of figuring out, you know, what is going on, right? So some transactions. PFCG. So SM12 is for managing locks in the system. So if I go to SM12, I can see if there are any locks in the system held by any user in client 812, and there is none. But NQ work process does do the lock management. If I actually were to start another transaction, let's say PFCG, right, which is the next transaction being shown or being asked in this screen, which is for role maintenance. So if I pick up a role, any role, right, this is security roles, right, and I go to change mode, change the role. If I come here, I see a lock, right? Why? Because I'm in a change mode for this role, right? This role is in a AGR definition table, and that table has been locked in client 812 in an exclusive mode, right? Just as an example, quick and dirty, I've just shown to you that it is working. And the work process which is doing this for us is the NQ work process, right, which we talked about in terms of lock management. So this has given us the ability to look at, you know, few other transactions, right? We can quickly look at, you know, the remainder ones as well. SM13 / SM13 is the one used to manage any update terminations. SAP does what's called asynchronous updates. So you might save a record or a database transaction, but SAP would not put it in the database. It might just give you a sales order number or an invoice number saying that, yes, I will save it later, but this is what the sales order number is going to be. And that process is called asynchronous, right? Because it has not really updated that in the database. It's going to do an asynchronous update. And asynchronous updates give you a better performance because you believe as an end user you have a sales order number, which is good enough because you're not going to turn around and start changing that sales order right that second, right? So if it takes a millisecond, 100, 200, 400 milliseconds or a second to complete in the background, that's okay. But if you start seeing a lot of updates terminating here, a lot of updates pending, right, in the screen, that means the update work process has challenges. Either the database is filling up, or there is locking issues, or there is not enough processing capability. Right, so SM21 is system logs, SAP's system logs, right? So if you're facing any issues, you would see them in the system log, right? So we are seeing few issues, get ADDR information. So typically this is like a reverse lookup on DNS or your host file, which might be giving, you know, incorrect information or no information at all, right? Typically is not very harmful, but still one should pay attention to it. This is in the last 1 hour, right? I can go back in time since 8 a.m., see what other errors we have. We have got a lot more errors, right, prior to that. Some RSC destination. Right, so some of the bad jobs might be running at that time which are failing, including Shrikant doing some work. Connections dropping. Right, so that's system log SM21. If I need to send a note to you guys, I can use SMO2 transaction, right? right? Right, I can send that note. If I send that note for anyone who's logged in, when they do another dialog step, they're gonna see it, right? And RZ20, last transaction, is about CCMS monitoring. So these are all the various CCMS monitoring sets defined. If I pick up one of these CCMS technical operations template, right? Or I can pick up ERP monitoring template, right? ABAP landscape, right? So I can pick it. There are various templates defined, and you can define your own templates as well. So if I pick this up, critical messages, database is showing in red, database backup is showing in red, Oracle database backup is showing in red. Last successful backup is very old. That's the error I've asked Shrikant to fix. It failed today as well on 5/31. Oh, actually there is one running right now, so it looks like he has made some progress, right? It's in yellow, right? There's one run going on right now. Database backup. So right, so it's context sensitive. From there, you know, I can come here, right? So this is the one, whole online backup is continuing since I told him to do, right? And it's taking a while, but it is going on, right? Here we are. File ID number 72. It's going on. I can look at the detail log. So it's 47, roughly 50% done. It started at 7 a.m. So, you know, in 4 hours, another 4 hours for it to go. This is full backup, so it takes a while. And the beauty is it's writing to the S3 storage in AWS cloud itself, which is interesting, right? And we'll talk more about that later. So again, just to, number one, convince you that if you are interested in learning, you will learn, right? Because we will teach you the theory, we'll teach you the practicals behind it, we'll teach you what's relevant when you are at a client location to make sure that you have skill sets which are marketable. Okay. Page down. Frequently asked questions, right? So this will set the stage of what questions people ask us. And then after that, I'll open it for all of you to ask questions as well. How are the opportunities in SAP, right? So it's obviously the most lucrative and sought after field in IT. Furthermore, even in that area, basis is more lucrative compared to the other SAP disciplines because number one, it's difficult to learn, it's very, very technical, and there's more demand because if you are an FICO consultant, you can only be on projects where FICO is being actively implemented. But if you're a basis consultant, you know, whether it's a FI implementation, or it's a HANA implementation, or it's an SRM, CRM, PI implementation, you're required everywhere, right? So that's the rationale behind it. But one needs to continue to reinvent yourself, even within basis, right? Unlike other disciplines, IT, you cannot behave as if you were a doctor or a CA or a attorney, right? Where experience matters more. You don't have to learn newer things, right? At least to some extent, you don't have to learn newer things, right? The human body is not changing, right? But yes, the technology to treat human body might be changing. For a CA, or a CPA, the financial regulations don't change that often. The accounting standards don't change that often, right? But yes, maybe the technology, the tools you use around it might change. But in IT, it's all about the technology anyhow, right? So the frequency of change and the extent of change is very, very high, which is good and bad. It is good for people who are entering the market. It is bad for people who have been in there for 10, 15, 20 years, because every 5 to 7 years you're back to square one, right? That means as if you have had no experience, because everything has changed, and you need to be on top of your game. Do you provide any certification? We provide a certificate for this training. Also in this training, we cover the material to take SAP certification, right? And I'll be honest, our certificate has got no value, right? The certificate which has got value is the SAP certification. So that's what you need to put your eye on, right? Do you help with placement after the course is done? Yes, right? And that's what the KPSO process is all about, which we talked earlier. Do you provide remote access to the servers? Yes. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day from anywhere, right? As long as you've got internet access. How do you attend the classes remotely? Via Microsoft Live Meeting. All of you are doing it today, so I don't need to spend more time on it. How long after the training do I have access to the servers? For 3 months. And then you can still get access even beyond that for a nominal fee. Even that we waive in most of the cases, right? Because we really want you to learn. Case study, right? So I just picked an example of a student, who went through this course, and there are very many examples similar to this. This is the one which has been documented in this deck, right? She attended batch 29 in 2010, the April to June batch, right? So April, May, June, 3 months, right? Typically 8 weeks will take close to 3 months to finish, because like in this case you would have the Memorial Day holiday between April and June, and perhaps another class missed or whatever, right? So it invariably takes 2.5 to 3 months to finish a batch. She took the KPSO not immediately after she finished her batch, because she had some personal stuff going on, but she took it in October to Jan time frame. In December, she got SAP certified in 2010. We started the marketing process after she finished the KPSO in Feb and March 2011, and April 18th she joined Accenture in Canada. Attended all the sessions remotely, right? So since she was in Canada, she couldn't be here in New Jersey. Very focused, asked questions before start of each class. Very active in the class itself. Completed all homework in time, including the installation exercise. When she got certified, she scored 90%, right? So it was not just getting certified, she even did very good. This is her certification exam, right? So December 2010 is when she took it. 90%. Score in various areas, right? She got 100% in a lot of them. System configuration, she got 50% and got yelled at by me, because I think we covered this area relatively well. Starting and stopping SAP through Management Console, we cover as well. She didn't do that well, but other areas she did fairly well, right? This was an Oracle one, right? That's why you see this DB depending administration Oracle. She had 91% in it. Right, so this is Pearson VUE. Again, she took it at Pearson VUE. Right, so that was my last slide. I'll open up for any questions which you guys might have, and then we will talk about the homework. Okay. Yes, Amjad, what's the question? Okay, Chaitanya's, no, unfortunately, we don't spend too much time on DB2. If you have a specific reason to take it for DB2, you will have to find the materials for it. If you don't have a specific reason to take it for DB2, I would recommend not to take it for DB2 because it's not as commonly used as Oracle and SQL Server are. Do you know anybody using SAP HANA? Tons of people are using it now, right? Yes, a lot of companies using it. It's called Suite on HANA. Okay. What is KPSO? It's an acronym which stands for Khoj Placement Service Offering. So this is where we help with interview preparation, with your resume, with some project work, with the certification, right, to make sure that you can break into the market. When will you send today's recordings? Okay, so today's recordings will go out later today itself. Amol will post them on the live meeting site. I don't have lab access yet. Yes, so if you have registered, you should have received the Yahoo Group access. And in the Yahoo Group access, there are details on how to connect to our servers as well. And in fact, briefly, I haven't shared it in the class today. But, if you have not received it, you can simply write to Amol and he will send it, right? I think Virendra's question is something similar. After you have registered, Virendra, it takes a couple of days for the DVD to be mailed and for you to receive it, right? So I'm not sure when you registered, but if you registered in the last few days, it would be in the mail. Again, if it has been more than that and you have still not received it, send a quick email to Amol and/or training@khoj-inc.com. Yeah, so no, there is, in the future, if there's any change in the class, it just gets cancelled, right? And then the session happens next Saturday, or it gets reduced for that Saturday. But yes, Sunday is not when we have the class. Today was an exception, and we took the exception only because we knew it was day 0 class, or, orientation session. So that's something we are working on, Mohan. There is no set date for it. That's the reason this class is still continuing. Exactly what all changes will that bring about, what all will be covered, is something which Raj and I are working on. So if you plan to not attend this so that you can attend that, then I would say don't do that, right? Because we don't know how and when would all the changes be available for us to start specific HANA training, and whether that will be a new course or will be part of this course or both. Okay. So while you can still continue to type questions, homework, you have to register at SDN, SAP's Developer Network. It is free. But it's a good tool because it gives you a good sense of what's happening. And again, you become part of an ecosystem, part of a network, and it will be handy as your career progresses. Keep help.sap.com handy. A lot of material is there on the public domain. Not everyone can register on the SAP Service Marketplace, but if you are an employee of a partner or an SAP customer, or you get your certification, you can, and once any one of those three materializes, you should register. Ensure SAP GUI's connection to RP2, the IDES system, is working for you before the next class. Make sure you have accepted the invite to the Yahoo group and are receiving the Yahoo group emails. Put Khoj-inc.com, Khoj-inc.com and Yahoo.com in your whitelist, so then you don't miss any of those emails. Make sure you review the recordings for today's class. The recordings are going to be posted on Monday or later tonight, but latest by Monday, right? So you should definitely review those recordings, especially if you have missed a portion of today's session. Would SAP S/4HANA be a game changer? Yes, it would be a game changer. And would there be effect on the NetWeaver administration? Yes, but does not mean that NetWeaver administration is going to become obsolete. The NetWeaver administrators would have to now definitely know about HANA as well, right? But you know, HANA is, systems administration in HANA is really part and parcel of basis administration, right? It is not exclusive, it is inclusive of it, right? And that has been the case in the last 15 years, right? Means even when NetWeaver came, basis administration existed, NetWeaver systems administration was included, right? And then, you know, what might be new to you guys, because you're new to this space, you know, when I look at it, or when Raj looks at it for the last 15, 20 years, something or the other is happening every 2 to 3 years, right? Whether it was NetWeaver earlier on, whether it was any merger with business objects, Sybase, others, right? There will be constant change, right? That's just the nature of the game.
Can I add to it?
Yes, Raj, please, go ahead.
So one of the things, right, I mean, the NetWeaver already, SAP has thousands of installations. So it's slowly going to, you know, a lot of companies going to migrate it. So eventually it's going to stay, even though HANA is here. I mean, a lot of installations happening. Chances are, you know, you will be working on NetWeaver installations. I mean, again, HANA is just a backend, so you will still use the SMO4 or RZO2. All those you'll be still using it. You need to know for the, you know, for day-to-day activities. So eventually that means, you know, you have to have the NetWeaver base, you know, covered.
Yeah, thanks, Raj. So, and you know, also, I know I missed the portion, you know, where I introduced myself, and you know, I didn't give Raj an opportunity. So, before we end today, I'll definitely want, or maybe now is a good time, Raj. Why don't you, similar to, you know, how I went through my background, and I'll bring up that slide. If you could give the attendees a sense of your background, would be very beneficial.
Sure. All right. My name is Raj Ramakrishnan. As I mentioned, you know, I'm currently working with you know, Ajay on a client, with one of the big five consulting client. So I have, you know, more than 15 years of experience in the IT, and most of it from the SAP. So obviously, you know, like you, many of you, you know, were trying to start, you know, the SAP career. I started up with the DBA background, you know, initial days, you know, the client server technology we used to work, right? So I used to work in the Power Builder, Sybase, those areas, and also SQL Server. So slowly we, you know, moved into the SAP, been working on this for lots of years now. So worked on multiple products like ECC, BW, and one of the things with the basis is you have to, like as I mentioned, you have to keep learning, and also it's going to be a little bit, you have to keep learning, and each client will be different. So you will have opportunity to learn something new if you go to a new client. So it's always, keep learning things, and there are lots of, products you will eventually, learning over the years. I do have, experience in the training as well. So, previously trained Verizon and other clients, mostly from Canada on, many of the areas in the IT. And also I'm a certified SAP consultant, as well as an open group architect certified. And also I have a master's in the computer applications from India. So that's me. Okay.
Thanks, Raj, for giving that background to the class here. Let's quickly go back to where we were. Okay, so this is, it's nothing new, right? Information to connect with us so that you got all the details. Let's continue to look at the questions. Okay, so we answered this one. Is there a difference between SAP Basis and security training courses? Yes. We used to at one point have 3 different courses: Basis, Solution Manager, and Security Training course. Because of the demand, the Basis is the one, which has remained and has continued and is the most frequently offered. Security has become almost on demand now. When there is a requirement, we will schedule a new batch. Solution Manager, over the years, we have felt that it is such a vast area, and so many different modules and concepts on it that the training course we had was not able to cover all of them, right? So we stopped that training program as a public training. Invariably, when people ask for something, we do a more specific, customized training program for them. Nevertheless, as I had shown you, all the recordings from when we did have the full Solution Manager training program is here. Solution Manager recordings, right? So, actually we don't give the full recordings. We said that we'll give the first 2 sessions, right? So the first 2 sessions of day 1 are here. But if it is important for somebody, right, who plans to use it at their company, etc., if you ask us, we'll give you all of them as well. Right? I've got no inhibitions there. And also, what some people have done is they have just bought the security training material and recordings from us, right, rather than attending the class, especially if they have attended the basis class. At half the price, they've just bought all of the security material. And if that is of importance to you, even for Solution Manager, you can approach Amol and he can arrange the details for you. Solution Manager, it's compared to Oracle OEM, it's very vast compared to Oracle Enterprise Manager, and also very complex. But yes, bits and pieces of what OEM does is what Solution Manager does, but it goes beyond that, and hence it becomes very difficult to cover all components of it. when we were doing it, we were indeed covering all components of it. So it's not only about that, you can manage different components from a GUI. It's not only about the user interaction and user experience. It's really about functionality which it brings to the table. It's got number of modules. It's got support desk capabilities, so running a help desk for a solution manager, right? So it competes with Remedy from that standpoint, right? It's got a change management module, which lets you do change request management. Again, it competes with Remedies of the world from that standpoint. It's got very good monitoring capability, alerting capability, escalation capability, and it competes with HP OpenViews and Tivolis of the world from that perspective, right? It has got full understanding of SAP's ASAP methodology and Run SAP methodology, and all documentation for an SAP implementation can be done in there, right? So it's got a lot of implementation-oriented capabilities in it. It has got business process management, license management, patch management, release management capabilities in it. So much more extensive from that standpoint. Is it possible to pick up solution manager on job? Yes, it's possible to pick up everything on the job, right? Obviously, what's important is, and that just the nature of the game is that, right? Even though most of the people pick up stuff on job, but they get the same job because they are able to convince the hiring manager that they know those things, right? So it's that's the nature of the game, right? And I think I'm preaching to the choir here. Anyhow, all of you are aware of it. I've got 3 years experience as HANA database management. Do you recommend I study for HANA certification or basis? I would say both, but you should do HANA first since you're already experienced in that area. You should get that, under your belt, and follow up with the basis administration NetWeaver certification as well. For that, you will have to study, learn the material before you can take it. But since HANA, you're already doing it for the last 3 years, so you're in a very good position. And I think, Kwang, I'm impressed that you're still showing interest in this course, because I think you must have realized that HANA database management is only giving you a piece of the puzzle, right? And you want the whole jigsaw puzzle to be built for you, right? And this course is going to fill in the gaps for you, and you will have a more comprehensive experience which you can sell more effectively and add real value to your real clients. Amjad has a question. Well, yeah, thanks, Amjad. I appreciate that. We take a lot of pride in what we have built and how we want to go about it, right? And that's why this orientation session is, it's an eye-opener for people to really know what they're going to learn, how they're going to learn here. And also, some people might find that this is difficult for me. I didn't expect, it to be this detailed or this comprehensive. But then again, if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. And if everyone were doing it, then the principles of supply and demand would essentially mean that, extensive supply, downward pressure on the rates, right? Sridhar, thanks a lot as well. I appreciate you sharing the same sentiment. Virendra, all part, right? So it means our KPSO program is not only built on marketing you, right, but making you marketable, right? So that's the big difference, how we differentiate, right? So just not marketing you, that's only one aspect, right? And since we charge for that program, we are not even saying that we should be the only person marketing you. You could market yourself. We want to make you marketable. We want to invest in you, right? And once that happens and that takes place, rest is history. Right? If there are no more questions, we'll stop the recording here. Thanks all of you for attending. We'll reconvene next week and take it from there. Raj and I will share the material, right, you know, on certain classes as time progresses. You know, I think the way we typically plan to go around it is theory is done by one individual, practical is done by the other individual, right? And also it gives you the benefit that you've got more instruction hours available to you between myself, Raj, and Shrikant, right? And with those more instruction hours, it gives us the ability to add more material, more content, more intelligent exercises, and more pertinent cutting-edge material like HANA to the coursework. Okay. So if no more questions, we will conclude here. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll reconvene next week.
Thanks, Ajay. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.